Hello, FUT nerds, and welcome to another FUT Me podcast, the pod aimed at the all of us mid-tier, mid-level, just plain mid-ultimate players. I'm your intrepid host, TJ, here to share my weekly experience with you and hope I'm making both of us feel a little better. And so let's begin today because today is a very special episode and not in the kind of after school tragedy trauma broadcasting from my youth, but rather I have a guest, my coach, colleague, dare I say, my mate, Martain. Welcome. How are you doing today?
All good here in the UK. It's just got a little bit colder. Long day grinding YouTube videos and coaching sessions, but yeah, it's I've been giving you a poke now and again to get onto the podcast, and you've finally buckled and allowed me to come on here. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd, move heaven and earth, but we made it. We made it happen. So, friends of the pod certainly have heard me talk about you and the coaching service, and essentially like halfway through my the podcast season, I was like, I got this, and then it just kind of changed. Everything started. You got a YouTube channel. I was kind of curious since I'm a teacher. I actually coach debate, talk about stuff like that. What is it that made you get into like coaching, teaching? Essentially foot.
So I'll try and condense it a little bit. Obviously, it's a question I get asked a little bit now, but so it started in COVID. Of course, a lot of people didn't have much going on. I was smashing out FIFA 20, I think it was, and I was heavily getting into squad battle stuff, and I was really getting high end finishes. I'd always played very seriously. I think like FIFA 18 I was starting to get into like top 100 foot champs and stuff like that, but then it just veered off. And then, anyway, so FIFA 20, squad battles, and I started getting in like top five, I've come first in the world. And my brother actually said to me, he said, why don't you upload it to YouTube and do like a tutorial? He said, you've always taught me how to get better. Like, I reckon it'd do all right. I was like, no chance. But anyway, so we did it, and then obviously one video leads to two videos to three videos, and I think probably like five or six videos in, I had a video that probably got like 1,000 views, and I got like 100 subscribers in one hit, and they watched my tutorial like on how to beat Ultimate, and just said that it was good. So the natural progression was just to keep going and keep going, and then um, there's been so many FIFAs now, but I think from FIFA 22, it's been like a full time gig, the YouTube, and then the YouTube led into the coaching. I always knew that there was coaches out there. I started off with the squad battles, and I was pretty shocked actually at how many people got back to me, and then went to the online stuff because at the end of the day, you don't have to be the best player in the world. If you know your stuff, and the bigger deal is being able to teach it to people and get the message across. And 3 years on, hopefully it's been going okay. And yeah, I'd like to think that I've got a lot better at it. I don't change my methods too much, but yeah, I suppose like anything, it just kind of snowballs, and suddenly you think, oh, I'm here doing this, and that certainly wasn't the plan at the start. But yeah, here we are now.
Sure. Well, it sounds like, I mean, if your brother mentioned that you're helping him, like you just have a tendency, I know we've talked about when you're like, at Ipswich games, you're like, why aren't they doing this? And they need to be doing that. Like you're kind of drawn to like, hey, I can fix these things instead of like, you suck. So, I can appreciate that. And, I know you were talking about your YouTube and that kind of being how you got your start. And I see a lot of your videos talking about whether it's squad battles or taxes or whatever,
Yeah.
you talk about coins. Specifically, you have a particular sponsor that you talk about that in terms of doing that. I know I'm having a hard time even getting coins this year. There's only untradeable packs and nothing's coming out that I've been able to really, and for all these SBCs, it's almost like you need more coins. What is that all
Yeah.
about?
So I've got a really good sponsor called FIFAcoin.com. Um, and it's is what it says on the tin. So you can go to them and actually buy coins. I think a lot of people are worried about it. When they approached me, I was a little skeptical about it because it's always something that's been frowned upon. I think the last few years, a lot of people have started to accept it a bit more because they feel like EA are just trying to have them over with points and trying to suck money out of them that they just basically think screw EA. So yeah, I accepted the sponsorship to start off with, but I was a little bit reserved. But honestly, hand on heart, like they have been amazing. I was worried because I had a lot of coaching clients that if I'm promoting this and somebody gets banned, that's what people are worried about. Let's not muck around with it. That's what people are worried about. And I didn't want coaching clients, subscribers, don't not getting a bad reputation. But literally, that I haven't had anything negative come back from it at all. It's just been positive, positive, positive. And so I've invested more time into it, more time to promoting it. And I would encourage anyone that wants more coins, more players, more fun, just go and buy coins. Now, the difference is if you follow their instructions, they know what they're doing. Like they've been around for ages, years and years and years. If you just try and transfer some coins off of your mate that wants to sell 1 million coins, that's not going to work. But if you follow their method and do what they say, you'll be absolutely fine. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper. And also, it's more transparent. If you're willing to spend $50 because you want your favorite player, that's what you're going to get. If you spend $50 on some packs, you just don't know what you're going to get. So yeah, it's fifacoin.com. And if you use my code Martain, you get a 5% discount. But also, they've got a live chat to ask them any questions, and they've got like 20,000 reviews on Trustpilot or something. So, yeah, but I think you have to do your homework with who you use, but not even just them. But there are companies out there that have been going for a long time. You just got to think if they've been doing it for that long, like they're doing something right. So, yeah, they're brilliant. And yeah, I'm signed up with them for quite a while, so I'm quite happy with that.
Well, I would imagine as long as you don't need to be spending just boatloads of money on items in this game. So if you do it every day and we're getting too much, I would imagine those things set up more of the red flags, and they probably have information about that so that they know, like, you aren't doing it all the time, and it's one of those kinds of deals. So it's been impossible to amass coins in this game, and about the time you get it, then you don't want to spend them because you can't get them.
Well,
So
EA don't want you to have coins anymore.
no,
Like
clearly they
most
don't.
people's back in the day, I'm just saying that even like 3 or 4 years ago, you'd have one or two untradeable players, SBCs. Now they don't want you to have any.
Yeah.
Like even with like the rivals rewards, they'll gear it so heavily towards the untradeable rewards so that you're almost stupid if you pick the tradable ones. Literally, apart from FUT champs and some squad battles rewards, everything else is untradeable, unless, of course, you buy their points and their packs, which of course is
Well, even
obviously
most of those
what
are
they want.
untradeable now too.
Well, yes, they're putting it that way, and honestly,
Get
that's
some
why I
lone
think,
players, like
yeah, I think
whatever. Ugh.
that's why more and more people are starting to buy coins because they're just thinking enough's enough. Like, how else am I supposed to get them? So, yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
well, and at
agree.
some point, if like if they adjusted, then people would be more than happy to do. But if you're not getting value for it, then why would you? But and to be honest, this is the kind of week. This is a part. It seems like we're to a bit where why I need coins and what's been going on this week. And oh my gosh. So I guess we'll go ahead and transition into
Hey, how you doing?
and how I am doing this week is been very roller coastery. The first part of the week, and I even reached out to you, was all like, hey, started the week at like the beginning of six and made it right in there before our session, and was halfway through six, had gotten kind of in a slog, but I redid the team and like I was like, oh, it worked out great. And bam, just cruised up there. And since getting to the halfway point on six, it has been an absolute just shift. Like I'm not talking like I'm losing games like, 1-2 and 3-4. Like I'm just getting thumped. There's a few of where I'm just like, quitting. Like I'm like, how is everybody so much better all of a sudden? I don't want to blame it on the patch because I mean I read parts of it, but I don't think that has much to do with it. I think there's probably a number of things at play here between folks that got the game are now getting up into that division. So some of those good folks that were a week or two behind are now getting up into there. So you're running into more of that. The teams I'm playing against, like there are some loaded, like the 91 Modriches of the world with like a special KDB and whatever else. And it's like, if y'all weren't winning against my team, I guess I would feel bad for you a little bit. And just also, there's people are getting used to, I think, some of the technical bits. They're finding some, tactics, which maybe we'll talk about at some point. They're, the swarming defense kind of thing that you deal with in Division 6. I know once you get up into 3 and 2 and everybody kind of like, oh no, everybody's good. But in a situation where we're at, it's just everybody's flying around it. It looks like the kind of soccer I played when I grew up, and we called it soccer, where it's just like a cluster and you're trying to kind of get out of there. And so, I've done lineup changes. I fell in. I did the hero pack right when that came out. I was like, oh, maybe this is my salvation. But come to find out, I don't think Alexander Mostovi, or however you say his name, is going to do it. I tried it, but he was not the answer. I was playing with. I went with higher ratings, so I ended up putting like Diaz in the back, and I've seen some people using him and beating me with him, but then he was getting kind of like, just there were these times in which the center backs were like nowhere to be found. It was just wide open, stuff that never happens when I'm on that side of the pitch. But I'm back to I put Kalulu back in there. I ended up packing Son, so now I'm trying to get some Premier links going on. So I've got Ben Saka, like, there on the right. So I feel like I've got a couple of weak links in spots, but that is not the reason that I'm unable to, like, kind of execute the game plan. And so I don't know if it's, on my part, which, we'll have our session on Wednesday, and
I
you'll
was
be
going to
able
say,
to
sounds
tell me.
like I got my work cut out this week.
Well, it could be. It's also like, that's Saturday and Sunday, and I know I record a lot of my stuff on Mondays or Tuesdays, and so I don't know if like the time of day and who I'm playing against, but um, and it's not like I'm not winning at all. I've gotten a couple of run-ins to get to that next to last checkpoint to get all the way up to 5. So it hasn't been just complete, whatever, but it has been the first time I've reached that wall of sorts. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure that out, as because it's not necessarily, and some of these are like, I'm either getting surrounded by 3 folks, which I'm like, how do you do that? I'll get, they'll get sandwiched by someone who's just really good on the stick and can like just shut me down there. Or, it's, even when you pass the ball to the other side, this whole like mass just kind of seems to go right back over with it. It's hard to find, those areas. And then I've always struggled in the final third. So that is still a game when everybody's like, oh, defense is hard and scoring's easy. I'm still like, liars. So as I am kind of, fighting through there, you know, I know, like I said, this is how we kind of go. I'll show up and either be like, things went okay, or like this happens. So with that in mind, and I know a lot of people are frustrated in a lot of things, and we're looking at tactics and formations and player, like, what do you think, like in a nutshell, how can you fix everybody's like, game right now? Real quick, go.
So I think at the moment, obviously, you got to keep things simple, particularly unless you've put a load of money on the game. Your likelihood is that you've not got an amazing team, right? So you really have got to understand the drawbacks in every different position. You might have a couple of centre backs that are very good at defending and physically they're great. Their passing could be horrific. Make sure that you're keeping it simple when you're passing. Your strikers, one of them might have a 3-star weak foot. Just understand that if you are going to take it on their weak foot, maybe it's not going to work for you. Also, the play styles. Really look at the play styles that your players have. I think that I've noticed this in coaching sessions I've done with people, because it's a new thing. Some people have kind of just brushed it to one side and thought, well, I don't really understand it, so I'll just pretend it doesn't matter. It does matter a lot. You mentioned that you've got Son. We've spoken about this, about in different scenarios inside the box using different finishes. If you've got a forward player with a play style plus Travella, you need to know that and know what their good foot is and use it. Like we've seen that with you with Dybala. Now you've got Son. I'll definitely be on to you about using that finesse shot in certain places. So there's that. And then formation wise, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is, what YouTuber, a pro player, whatever. Like, you can't just copy their tactics and expect them to work for you. And probably where, like, you guys are at advantage, obviously having me coach you, I can tell you what you're good at and what you're not good at. Okay, but you've really got to just use a formation and a tactic that works for you. And even if, like, you don't have coaching, just think, like, what type of player am I? Like, what am I good at? Yeah, there's no point having two massive strikers and, you know, think that you're going to put crosses in if that's not your game and you're a tiki taka like player. You know, try and think about it. You know, that's a big deal. So, because you're dealing with a new game, lesser players, the last thing that you need to do is start playing with a formation tactic that you've never used before because some YouTuber has put it up. I put a lot of tactics up on my channel, but I'll always try and explain this is the type of formation if you're like this. So I like 4-3-1-2. I say this is the type of formation if you want to take the game to your opponent, have lots of fun, score lots of goals, put them under lots of pressure. If that's not you, and actually you're quite timid and you like a lot of possession, then something like a 4-2-3-1 is going to work well for you. And I would stick to the more traditional formations as well. So yeah, I could go on all day. You know I can. But yeah, I'd just leave it at the moment. So understand your players, understand what they can do, and try and find a formation that really suits yourself at the moment while you're still getting to grips with the new game, basically.
Yeah, no, that 4-2-3-1, and a lot of people talk about meta. Of course, it just means most effective tactics available. But again, like you said, if you're know that you like to play through the middle and stuff like that, then a narrow formation, watching those make sense versus watching other formations where they're talking about playing on the edges and doing stuff out there. Um, Also, personnel, like one of the reasons that I switched, like, so I started using the 88s that everybody gets, right? Silva, Bruno, like, it's like, it doesn't matter, like, however, it seems like everybody has them. I see them in a number of the teams that I play against. So, we're talking about folks with 70 pace in the midfield, which typically we're like, oh, pace is king. And I got to be honest, like up until like, halfway through Division Six, I was getting away with more of that, right? Where it seems like, now we're seeing a bit more of, folks that are, go with more of like speed in all of those positions and then are
Mm-hmm.
able to get the most out of that because we know that speed is difficult. I know the jockey thing has come up in terms of the defense in terms of like the new patch notes, but it really seems like, but if you're not a person who plays fast, then like having to like deal with that, I know can be extra hard.
Either way, you're going to still want pace in your team. I've had this discussion a lot because some people have said that pace doesn't matter anymore. A lot of people can exaggerate. You're always going to prefer to have a quick player than a slow player. You know, it's just how it is. You'd rather your player be strong than weak. It's just how it is. Um, so for me, pace is always going to be key. It always has been, and it always will be. But pace isn't just get the ball, run past an opponent. Like, pace can be, just gobbling up that first 5 yards, and then you're playing it. And also outside of players, pace is up here. The quickness of your mind that creates you that time and that space that allows that player to you know sprint 5 yards and stuff like that. I think when you talk about pace, everyone just thinks, I'm going to get it and just run past the whole team, which of course isn't viable.
Well, when we were talking, I told you that I had started playing chess again. I use that very term loosely because I'm not very good at it, and it's one of those things. I'm better at reacting than predicting, and I figure that's one of it. And a lot of it, I think, is identifying patterns, and people that are really good at being able to identify patterns or complex ones and how to start them. Because I know we talk a lot about like
We
put
do.
everybody on a run, get them on runs, get them on runs. And it's just like when you start doing those runs and you do them in a certain order and you start to see a pattern and then you start to see like how they're going to react to it. And then it becomes like, oh, this is easy. And I feel like that happens to me a lot, right? Like these dudes that are like putting in like 6, 7 goals, it's just like, oh, they go boop, boop. And I'm all like, why isn't my player doing anything? And I know it's as much that as it is they know like the spots and the things to do it because the difference between triggering a run when the ball's in the air versus triggering it once it's landed to somebody has just and it's just a matter of fractions of seconds. And so that's why, sometimes I think when we take a break and then come back, then those things we get more kind of in tune to that. The idea, I know we talk about being on good form, poor form,
Yeah.
things along those lines. So it's a constant strength that you play a lot to think, well, if I play a lot of games, well, then I'm going to see this pattern a lot. But then it almost feels like I guess there's so much of it, you get lost, and then you're just kind of. We always used to say, you can't see the forest for the trees in debate a lot. Like that, if you're in a debate round, you're thinking about what's going on. You're not really thinking about how everything interacts. And then if you're the judge of the debate, you have to see how that all interacts, and it can really change the way a kid or a person sees the way debate works because they can step back. And so I think that's one of the things that coaching has been for me. Like I could, put aside a couple hours and watch like gameplay that I did and be able to be like, oh, well, that was dumb. Oh, well, that was dumb. But having like, a knowledgeable set of eyes to do that, especially since I don't know that much about soccer and football to begin with. And then that starts to really help. Not like, oh, because I don't know like the first thing about like, I can watch on Saturdays and Sundays, and I enjoy watching football. But in terms of knowing like strategically what are they doing or what could
Yeah.
they be doing there, that's where I think, having you there has been a great help.
And it's repetition, isn't it? That's the biggest thing that we talk about. And you asked to help everyone out with a few guidelines. Don't chop and change everything. Try and get into a routine. Repetition is key because when it becomes muscle memory and habit, that's when you start doing things quicker. And when it's being done quicker, that's when your opponent can't handle it because they can't go at the pace that you're going at. When I tell people that you need to play at speed and at pace, it only one, that doesn't mean just get it and run with it, and equally that doesn't mean just get it and just press pass. You need to know where you're going with it, and it's hard. It's hard to play at a quick pace and in a controlled manner, but that's why it needs to become natural, and that's with the patterns that obviously you're talking about. I did just want to say something which probably would be saved for our session. You said about form, yeah. So you've been really good the first few weeks, and I was complimenting you a lot. And the problem is that you always know that then round the corner there is a little dip of bad form. And yeah, if you couple a little bit of bad form with sounds like some of the teams have been quite tricky to play against.
Five at the back is like that's also weird for me this year. Usually five at the back shows up middle to later. Like you need some better center backs to usually pop around, things like that. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you cared all about pro stuff, but that they banned five at the back for all of their tournaments and none of the three at the backs, which are fundamentally five at the backs. Which I just think it's, I wonder if it's something different built about the game or if it's just because everybody's like, oh, it's hard defensively, so they decided to do it. But man, it's been a slog against some of those, I'll tell you.
Well, we have done a session about how to play against different formations. We'll keep that under our hat.
No, I try. Like I'm just, and even though, and you can, like you said, that Mike Tyson quote, have a game plan until you get smacked in the mouth kind of a thing, or, you know what you're trying to do, but they also know what you're trying to do. So they're trying not to let you do those types of things. And it's always, that kind of, bit who can be more patient and technical. And man, with passing with some of the players, when you talk about a little bit of a gap in terms of whether it's the power curve or whatever, like, they get on the wrong foot and they try to, you're giving away a goal instead of like, that's who I'm passing to. And so, that kind of element I've tried to let, that's part of the joy of the game, and we're going to get better. And we, when it then pulls out, it makes it even, but yeah, there's been some of that for sure.
But knowing you, this is what happens. And then next week you'll be like, oh, I'm in Division 5. You always do this to me.
Well, I mean,
say
it's
it's not going very well, and then bang. the next week. Fly in.
Well, and I know you're not a big fan of weekend league. You won't hear. I don't talk a whole lot about it. Like I've done some qualifiers mainly because I was looking at doing this stupid Rodrigo, and I was like, how else am I going to get packed? So I need to like do these silly things. So I guess it's working, EA. But I'm like 1-4. I don't know if I'm even going to qualify, but I'm like, I'll get some packs, whatever. So I know I mainly stick with divisions. I know we talk a lot about why do you think rivals, I know it's fun to like a lot of folks talk about, well, champs is nice because you're going to play some people less than you and it's a lot more casual and things like that. I find it to be a lot more almost stressful and more difficult. And we spend a lot more time in rivals. What is it that pushes us to go more towards rivals than worry so much about weekend league?
Well, you're definitely more suited to rivals. Um, I've said this to you before. Where you've been in divisions up to Division 3, it doesn't marry up with what you get into weekend league, and because it is slightly different. Weekend league is a cup competition. You can't draw. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. There can be different approaches. The game management can be different, but from a coaching point of view, which I prefer seeing rivals games because you've got a much better idea of the standard of your opponent. Because if you show me a few recordings of weekend league, either where you've been very successful or maybe you haven't been very successful, I'm sat there thinking this guy could be 2 divisions above you and he's just not, you're not on his level. Or, yeah, terrific. You've won 5-0, but, this guy clearly isn't that great. We're not learning anything from this. So it just doesn't give a very good representation of where you're at, and also it doesn't give a very good reputation of how you're doing with stuff that we've just been working on. So yeah, that's why I prefer a right. It's not that I don't like weekend league, it's just from a coaching point of view.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I guess if you're good at it, you do well and you get good stuff from that. Like, I know you play a lot more squad battles. I've been grinding it a little bit here or there. So, that's why there are all these different modes so that,
Well, I
whenever we
dipped
do
my
whatever.
toe into everything.
For sure. And I imagine, everybody that you work with has like, whatever they're trying to get better at. Plus, I mean, if you fundamentally get better at the game, you're going to do better in all of the things.
Yeah.
There are little nuances, I'm sure, within particular modes. We've never talked about like the trips and tricks to like be like ultimate and stuff like that in terms of squad battles. Most of our, most of all of ours is, about my obsession with trying not to feel like an idiot for spending as much time playing this game as I do. So I need to get better at it. And so that's where, it's really played out. And, like I said, our sessions, I know most of them are definitely where I'm I'm recording and then we're watching stuff. I know we're going to have some live sessions. We've done one before, and we're looking at doing some of those others.
Yeah.
Just real quick, we're kind of getting towards the end of it. What is the difference? I know some people only do live sessions, others do recording. Like, what is it? Like, I thought your version of us watching the recording together and how that kind of goes. The first time going into that, didn't really know how that was going to go, but have really liked it. Like, what kind of prompted you to kind of go more in that direction than the other, and when you do, those types of things?
So obviously this is my 3rd year of coaching. So I've learned across the way the different approaches. So watching the gameplay back together is key. Yeah. So I use Discord to do it. I can share the screen. We can both look at the recording. I can stop it, show stuff, slow it down, as of course and it's all about visuals. Words, just it's not enough. And that's why, like with YouTube videos or comments, you can chat and chat and chat and chat. You need to see it. And what I like to do is obviously go through the recording, and then I will have something in my back pocket to show you the right way. Might be from a more experienced player, it might be from footage that I've got, so that you've got a visual of how it's supposed to be done. That being said, live sessions work very well too, but you can't just do live sessions and equally just watching the recordings. It's better to have a mixture, because when you're doing the live sessions, it's not a case of me saying, oh, pass left, pass right, shoot. It's very much a case of trying to train you to think of stuff that's happening in the game. Right, what formation is he playing, TJ? I don't know. Right, he's playing 4-2-3-1. What does that mean? Like, right, he's got one up front. Right, you're gonna have more time at the back. The full backs are your out ball. Stick with it. Then I'll shut up for a little while. Or I'll say, look, you're losing the ball way too much inside of your own half. Like that's gonna bite you in the backside at some point. Or he's keeping the ball a lot. Make sure that you don't just give it straight back. Well, he's getting very frustrated. We can see he's slide tackling a lot. He's diving in, he's giving the ball away rashly, play on it, get the rage quit, all that type of stuff. So it's almost like a different set of skills or a different like type of coaching that you can get from that. So I like to do the odd live session as well. So yeah, I just think that it works well. Like I don't like the playing with somebody. I don't see how that can help, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think that actually sitting down and reviewing is much better.
Yeah, it's like having a film room session with your coach, and then it's like he's on the sideline yelling at you to get back, and those types of things, as if you're on the sideline. Like two very different kind of circumstances, but both of them, the information you're providing, gets to,
And
there's different ways that you're engaged in that.
Yeah.
To do that, yeah.
And the other thing that I prefer with the sitting down and sharing the screen is that we can go through tactics, we can go through players on the various websites. We can build teams together. Like it doesn't just have to be about the gameplay. So
recaps, yeah, not just highlights and lowlights.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we don't go through team that much, but certainly within the last few weeks, we talked to team a bit more than what we would do normally. And some people might think that's a waste of time, but if I'm giving a set of instructions or telling you a way to play or what I want you to do, I need to make sure that you've at least got the tools to do it, or it's a waste of time and money for everyone. And of course, I don't want that at all.
Well, and that's the kind of stuff that, like, oh, you would do better with this kind of player here versus, but everybody says this is the best CM.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but not for what we're doing in terms of that. And then if nothing else, try it. And if it does work or doesn't, like, well, maybe that one's not the right one, but there's something in between those two. And so it's, that those kind of directions and stuff like that for personnel have definitely, paid off. Also kept me from spending coins or wasting a lot of coins here or there, because it's all like, hey, do we think this would be good? Like, I know you're first one to say that you're not trading and stuff along those lines, but in terms of just like, would this be good for us? That you're always really good for that. So I appreciate it. So, and that's the other thing, is that with the Discord, you have your own Discord channel or the group or whatever, Martain88's Discord, being able to ask questions in there, reach out to you directly, stuff like that, just kind of update, seeing where everybody else is doing. It's it's not a gigantic Discord, which I like too. It's it's a nice kind of group of folks, and it's not just a whole bunch of spam and stuff going on there. It's very topical, and so that's also been a nice bit.
Everybody that has coaching gets to talk to each other. So I actually think that that's quite cool, because certainly when people first start off, a lot of other people will be like, don't worry about it. We've all been there. You'll get better. And obviously it's good because, thankfully I've got quite a few nice testimonials in there as well. So for new people, they can have a little read to see, what they
or they can even
reach
directly out to somebody, because I mean everybody the concern with like AI bots telling me all my Amazon stuff is good and everything else, it's like there's actual people like that will tell you, hey, here's how that kind of goes. So well, I guess as that is a good kind of transition bit as we get here at the end is if someone is getting a session or wants to get a session, what does that entail? Like, are they packages? How do we reach out? How much are rates, stuff like that?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not free. I think some people do think that, but it's not. This is my job.
YouTube's are. I mean,
the YouTube is free. Yes.
Smash a like.
Yeah. So for the coaching, it's £35 for a 2-hour session. I never do a 1-hour session, as you know. That's just not enough time to. It's just a waste of time, effort, and money for everyone. So it's £35 for a 2-hour session. It's done via Discord. I will obviously require you to have some gameplay for us to review. We will go through it, and then I will always give 2 or 3 things that I will want you to work on. We'll write them down in some session notes on the Discord. You'll go away, work on them, and then once you have your next session, we would go through them and see where you're at and then develop it. I use the same methods, same technique with everybody, as you know. So they're pretty tried and tested, to say the least. And it's really like building a house. It's the foundations, and we build it up. The next thing always leads on, in a nice order. So yeah, just get in touch with me. The email address is Martain88 at gmail.com for the coaching. And obviously, like you just said, we've got the YouTube channel, Martain88, where I've got loads of tactics on there, squad builders, tutorial stuff. It's just educational stuff, really. So yeah, if you want to come and check me out, feel free to hit me up.
As someone, I like I said, I coach kids in doing debate, and it may not know just how elaborate that is, but we have summer camps that are available. We call them institutes because they really aren't camps. They go stay like on a college campus, and they range from 2-week camps, 1 week, 2-week camps, to the longest one is like 7 weeks long. And I'll tell almost all my students, if you're going to go for 1 week, you need to go for 3, because by the time you get a week into it, you've scratched the surface and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After doing a couple of 1-hour sessions with other folks, the 2 hours is a game changer to be able to ask the questions and go over that. And then I know a lot of people might even be intimidated by like, well, how am I supposed to record gameplay? Like, if you have a Twitch channel, or not a Twitch channel, if you have a Twitch, so you watch people and you've got a thing, then, you automatically have that. And then you just link that up and hit record, start, and play some games and hit stop. And, you go onto the website and
PlayStation
hit
or
highlight,
Xbox is
all of them.
very
They
easy.
just, yeah. So it's even like, like back in the day, you'd have to like, get OBS and
Yeah.
grab a couple things and link some stuff together. And so, and to be on, like, our recording of a recording, it's not the crispest of it you need, but you don't need it to be able to be like, here's what's going on. You don't have to have it at like 1080p. So, it's changed my, my excitement for, the game and being able to get better at it. I know people that play golf have like golf instructors and
Exactly.
people that do everything, like if it's a hobby that you're worth doing it. And for me, I made the decision last year to be like, if I'm going to spend money, I'd rather spend it on me getting better than me making sure that EA folks have summer homes. And so I guess I might start helping some coin sellers at least upgrade their condos or something along those lines, to this year, the way things are going. But so far, like I said, I have nothing but awesome things to say I will about what we've been able to accomplish and continue to do, and it's definitely been worth it. So thank you so much for all of your help with that and for coming on. This is huge. You made me like go out of my comfort zone, figure out a way to like bring a guest on, and I think it's got okay. Both of us are still here, nothing's blown up, and we haven't gotten to post, but it seems like a all in all pretty successful bit. So any last minute shout outs or words of wisdom or anything before we go ahead and kick this pig?
2 things. One word of wisdom is, it's still October. Just calm down, settle down, just let yourself get used to the game. Like, everyone's been very, very serious and stressful. I feel like it's not even been out for a month yet. Just chill out, it'll be fine. And one little shout out for my little boy James. I know that he'll be watching when you upload it. So hello, buddy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I got to say, of all the times, all the ways to end this, typically I'm just all like, when everything's getting you down, just, foot me. But there's nothing, I mean, hey, there's nothing here to foot me. So hopefully, this foot we was a great way. And I look forward to speaking with you on Wednesday and trying to get better. So,
Good
all right.
stuff.
Thanks, Martain. Yep. Talk to you soon.
See you later.